What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another breakdown for AHS 1984. This is the season finale, The Final Girl.
Greg, the 80s will never die.
Yeah, I guess.
All right, Greg, let's talk about the season finale of 1984. We kind of saw a little bit of this coming. We knew that Bobby Richter would be back into the fold here, and he is played by Finn Wittrock.
Yes.
A veteran of American Horror Story. We're back in present day now, 2019.
Yeah, they gave us a little bit of a twist there with the flock of seagulls playing early, and then you just see a Prius roll up. You're like, oh, okay, got it. Never mind.
Yeah.
Not the 80s.
And the key here is that most people have kind of forgotten about Camp Redwood.
Apparently
it's
this
been
happens.
decades
Every
and decades.
decade, they forget about it.
It's been decades and decades. Time has passed, and kind of no one's been there. It's been basically abandoned from 1989. Like, no one cleaned it up after that camp festival.
Like a Briarcliff thing, a little bit of
Yeah.
that, or anything. Even Murder House was like locked down for a second before they
Right.
rebuilt it. So.
Right. I mean, even the Uber driver in this situation doesn't know what Camp Redwood was, so it's completely out of the public consciousness. And he's going basically to check in on the truth about what happened to his father. I mean, all he knows is that his father went back to Camp Redwood, right? Mr. Jingles went back there and never saw him again. No one ever saw him again. So he's kind of like looking for some answers.
So he immediately bumps into Montana, and this is a different Montana. Her demeanor has changed a little bit since the last time we saw her with Trevor. At the same time, no one's been on this campground for a very long time, so she sees a cell phone for the first time.
That was hysterical.
Tapping it.
She has no idea what an iPhone is.
Nope.
Oh, shit. That's rad.
Phones back then looked nothing like that.
And she's like, can I just keep this?
Yeah.
Like, no.
My first question was, if Bobby had read so much up about Camp Redwood, why even go there? Why even risk it?
His dad. That's it. He wants to see his dad.
What did people think of the 80s? Did Judd Nelson ever get his Oscar?
I do like that great little exchange between the two of them because it's been so long. She's been stuck in the 80s her entire life, so she wants to know a few things like Judd Nelson. Did he get that Oscar?
Eat my shorts.
That was hysterical. Obviously, Judd Nelson from Breakfast Club and St. Elmo's Fire. It's cool, and she's like, you get an idea of kind of being trapped in one decade and not being able to know what else is going on outside, right? If no one's coming into the campground, then she has no recollection of what's happening in society. Like, you can't get any newspaper, there's no updates, you can't log on Twitter. So she's basically relying upon visitors to the campground. And like she said, no one has come by, which is shocking. I found that kind of weird that no one would go back to Camp Redwood with all that historical significance.
They didn't even go in there and chop down trees or anything stupid.
Yeah,
like
or
that.
someone else buy the property and turn it into something else, or someone just clean up the Camp Redwood music festival that still we see is abandoned and in tatters.
Hey,
it was kind of surprising that no one had been there for so long.
Future seasons. Think about it. Future seasons.
Good
You gotta
point.
come back to it.
Yeah.
Return to Camp Redwood.
Oh God, the reality show about Camp Redwood.
AHS.
Roanoke Redwood.
Return to Camp Redwood. 2026.
The Coven Witches go camping.
Yes, anything like that. Keep it going. What else you got? What other mashups can we think of?
Freak Show?
So, Freak Show. The
Put the Freak
aliens
Show.
land on Camp
aliens.
Redwood.
Are we gonna get the aliens?
No, we're not.
No, I don't think I will.
I also love how Bobby was like, the 80s are kind of coming back, but aerobics is still super lame.
CrossFit.
Yeah, he'd probably be more into CrossFit or
Zumba.
Zumba.
Oh, yeah, Zumba.
Maybe into the dandy mop workout routine. I bet you Bobby's a fan.
And now Trevor's back, and he and Montana are clearly on good terms at this point. So we're gonna get a little bit of a flashback now.
To explain what we saw, right? Because obviously when we last saw them, they were not on the best of terms. She yelled at him, and they're in and out of love. But now we find out that they're together again, and they really enjoy being dead, right? They're gonna have to prove to Bobby that they're ghosts.
That was a fun little scene. That
was a fun
cool.
little scene. He's like, "Come on, kill me, come on!" So they're using the gun and the knife and all that kind of
Cuts
stuff.
his throat.
Yeah, that was fun to see. And then they pop back up, and then Bobby's like, "Whoa!" At that point, you would think a normal human being might just leave, right?
I'm a head out.
Yeah, I don't want to stay here anymore. These are ghosts that are coming back to life. You would think that he would want to leave, but like you said, he really wants to talk to his dad.
I have to talk to him.
I'm sorry, dude. Your dad's dead.
Now, in addition to being on a campground filled with ghosts, Montana even warns him that, hey, Richard Ramirez is here and he really wants to kill you.
Like,
so
really,
watch out.
Really wants to kill you.
Yeah.
But apparently someone keeps sending Bobby money.
Yeah, so it even adds more to the suspense and his motivations to find out what's kind of behind all this, like where his dad is, what really happened with his dad, and who is this anonymous source that's sending him money every month that he has no idea who it is. In addition to this, no one's seen Mr. Jingles at the campground for years, right?
30 years.
Yeah, so he's nowhere to be seen. So like even Montana and Trevor are like, we don't really know where your dad is.
The last time Montana saw him was when he got pulled to the depths of the bottom of the lake.
Yeah.
In our Friday the 13th nod last week. So now we finally go back to the 80s and 1989, Halloween Day, for the Camp Redwood Music Festival. That is not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But Margaret's still planning it anyways. And we get Bruce, who's getting high at this time. And we see Ramirez with a slice, which came out in 1984, by the way. He's got a slice ring. All right.
Haven't seen one of those in a long time.
But he's very upset. He's very upset if they don't get to see Billy Idol. And
Yeah.
I was too.
Yeah, I was upset that we didn't get Billy Idol. We
love that
We
line.
wanted a little Evan Peters cameo as Idol, but that
The
didn't
second
happen.
he said that line, I was like, oh, he's not showing up.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah. But we find out that basically Trevor has been turning away all these people, these artists and guests, to basically
Of course.
undermine Margaret's plan. And Margaret's plan is basically to just kill everyone that arrives after they arrive, and just basically, she wants this to be like a monument to herself, right, to the 80s and this time that she kind of just, wiped out completely. And she basically wants to use these music guests as symbols of the massacre that she's taken
And
taken
she
part
sicks Richard Ramirez out on everyone, apparently.
of. Yeah, Bruce, Richard Ramirez, Bruce, and herself as the trio of murderers that are going to basically get the job done. But Trevor, has other plans for her.
You are the world's worst assistant.
I wouldn't say the worst.
Clean this up. I have something I have to go deal with.
Also, because she's just a horrible person, she kills Courtney.
Yeah, like,
Point
she gives
blank.
some weird excuse that he's a horrible assistant, but like
Gave her bad news.
yeah, he's just the messenger, right? I mean, I feel like he was actually a pretty good assistant. He kind of had to deal with a lot of BS, in my opinion.
He cleaned up Kaja Gugu.
Yeah, he cleaned up messes of dead people, and then you do that to him, you just shoot him point blank.
Well, now he's stuck here on the campgrounds.
Then she goes after Trevor, who is, in the road and turning people away. And, you knew this was going to happen. You knew that she's going to get her kind of vengeance on him. And she shoots him, and it looks like he's going to die outside of the campground, outside of the property line.
Yeah, she shoots him in the crotch, which he actually brings up early on. He says, it sucks. You don't want to get shot here. You want to get shot here first.
Yeah.
At the same time, I love that scene. It's so goofy.
It is really goofy.
It's so goofy.
He's just laying there, and he's trying to crawl back into the campground so that he can obviously live on forever in the campground with Montana. It kind of reminded me of past seasons of AHS, right?
Yeah.
Like,
you gotta get back. You gotta get
Yeah.
that body on that haunted ground somehow.
like Michael
some way.
Langdon didn't make it into the murder house
Yep.
at the end of Apocalypse. Adelaide didn't make it into the murder house before she passed away, so she couldn't live on in the murder house, right?
Yeah.
But here, he gets some help. Trevor gets some help from Brooke, who is kind of a twist to see her helping out Montana, right? Because these two do not like each other. But she basically, reveals to Montana that she's nothing like her. That there's some good in her, and that she, isn't a horrible person. And in that instant, I think that Montana basically changed. That just kind of flipped a switch where, wow, okay, this person did something really great for me. She helped me get this love of my life back into the campground. And Brooke did it because she's just a very good person.
Yeah.
And Montana has not shown that throughout the course of the season.
Well, she did try to kill that one chick in the last episode, but she's changed now. It's fine.
Yeah.
Cool.
Let's forget about that.
All right. Now Trevor's brought back to the campground, so Ghost Trevor lives on forever on the campground, at least until it burns down or something else happens to it in the future. But for now, he's fine.
Yep.
And the next thing of business for the camp, they got to get rid of Bruce, but they can't leave the body on the campground. So that was cool too, where they set him up, or they have one of the old camp residents from the 70s chase him down a little bit, and bam, So they established the rules that you got to be off the campground. They push him off the campground and they let him bleed out somewhere else.
Yeah. Now, these rules do come into play later on with Margaret. I have a feeling that these ghosts don't really know how death works and like how the timing of stuff works, you know? But basically, if you want someone to not be reanimated onto the campground itself, you have to let them die off property. So kill Bruce or get him close to death, let him bleed out off property, then he dies and he no longer can come back.
Yes.
Yes, they didn't do that with Margaret.
But it was worth it. They also didn't follow the rules with Ramirez because, well, he's a special case as well. He has the helping hand of Satan, so no matter where they killed him, he was going to be revived somehow, some way.
Right, so the logic in this is that, hey, let's just keep an eye on him at Camp Redwood, right? And make sure every time he gets brought back to life, that we will just kill him immediately. And basically, an endless loop of just murder,
Loved it.
murder.
Love that scene.
This was a really cool scene as Montana lures him into the cabin. By the way, I love this tweet from American Horror Story's official Twitter account. They said, somebody mentions Billy Idol, Ramirez immediately lets guard down. I mean, that was spot on. All she has to do is say Billy Idol, and then he walks.
Oh,
he follows
Idol.
her. He's like, whatever, yeah, I'll join you. And then when he gets in there, obviously Montana, stabs him with the knife, and then this was extremely gruesome. I mean, what was your reaction when you first saw this part?
Oh, when he's like just covered in blood.
Yeah, everyone is just stabbing. Everyone's like stabbing him, and everyone's getting at it, like a circle murder of stabbings. It kind of reminded me of the nail gun scene in Cult.
Oh, a little bit. Okay.
Just a circle, but this was even more gruesome.
Yeah, the team up too of everyone getting together kind of reminded me a lot of stuff from we saw in Freak Show with like Dandy, his final end.
Yeah.
Now, we actually have a number of how many people are probably in the park. Montana says there's over 40 souls in the park. So, give or take, they all have a rotation where they go in and make sure to keep an eye on Ramirez and kill him every time he's revived, which is great because we kick off with first, I think it was Ray with his Annie Wilkes misery sledgehammer scene. Mm-hmm. And then from there, we go straight to Xavier with, he didn't have chainsaw.
Everyone pretty much gets their shot to kind of kill Ramirez over
Even
and over
and over
the 70s
counselors,
again. My question here was like, what are the rules? Like, do you just reanimate right in the same spot? Because I mean, this is what it seems to be. I think that we're getting
no time for that.
No time to explain.
Or
that,
the writing,
right?
They're like, no time. Let's move on.
It is a funny little kind of job to have at the campground, right? Mm-hmm. You're on death watch. Like, who's watching Ramirez tonight? Xavier is. Okay, bring the chainsaw. Like, how you want to kill him tonight?
They just like keep him in a chair. Just tie him up.
I would think that you could just chain him to some area and like slowly like cut off a limb. I mean, or do something little by little, like let him bleed out like over the course of time.
No, actually, then the very next scene with Chet and Birdie, welcome back Birdie, he's tied up and the devil sets him free.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't work.
They were a little bit,
preoccupied?
Yeah. They were playing Pictionary, and then they wanted to play strip Pictionary, and then they just started making out. And in any type of horror movie, if you're not paying attention to the person that's tied up, or not paying attention to what's going on in the room, and you're just making out, like that's pretty much your downfall, he gets up and he basically breaks free and kills them. And now we're back in present day 2019 at the campground, right?
Yes.
So now he's on the loose and he's looking for Bobby, who has arrived at the campground.
I have to try.
So he immediately breaks into the cabin with Montana, Trevor, and Bobby. And Bobby hightails out of there, but he still wants to stay on the campground. Everyone's telling him to run, get out of here, don't come back.
Yeah, remember that guy that we were telling you about? Like, okay, that's the Night Stalker right there. Yeah, get the hell away from us. Like, go. What are you doing here? Your dad you should not want to talk to your dad this bad. Like, this guy's going to murder you. It was a cool little scene, though, to have, like, all the ghosts kind of teaming up and, like, trying to stop him from getting to Bobby.
Ray's response when he saw him made me think like, oh, okay, so this probably happens all the time. He gets out, he escapes.
Right.
That makes me think of somehow, some way. Again, Richard Ramirez died on the campground. He's stuck there for 30 years. So what happened at Hotel Cortez?
Let's get to that later. You're getting ahead of yourself.
Your father betrayed Satan. I'm here to collect his debt. It's going to be lots of fun. Not so much for you.
Side note, I do like that moment where you hear vengeance, vengeance, vengeance right before Bobby's stabbed in the back by Ramirez's long throw.
Yeah, what a
with
throw.
That knife. Good job.
What a shot.
All right. Well, he has the power of Satan, so he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
But he still manages to get off the campground, and he's told by Montana to head over to the asylum.
Red Meadows Asylum and talk to the medical director. When he gets there, they don't know exactly who he is or what he's there for.
They're
They think
gonna lock him
maybe
up. Yeah.
they think maybe he's sick. They don't know like who this guy is coming in the middle of the night, and he looks all, he almost
bloody.
got killed. He almost got killed at the campground. And before they can lock him, put him away, obviously Donna Chambers is going to overhear what he's saying, and she's going to be, hey, just basically get you caught up with what happened to his father.
Surprise, she's alive. She made it.
It's about Benjamin Richter.
Wait. What about Richter?
He was my father.
Surprise, she made it. Now we know the final girl is Donna. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, it was fun because remember last episode where she talked about being a final girl, and she says, "Oh, I can't because of my race. I'm not gonna be the final girl. It's not how it works in these horror movies." Well, she now is the final girl, so it was cool to kind of see her, years and years later, explaining and kind of breaking down the truth and really putting Bobby's mind at ease and at peace with what happened to his father, and knowing that his father was innocent. Now, he also did some horrible stuff, but he was innocent of that initial massacre, and he was framed.
Yes, and she fills him in on the missing pieces here, which involve Margaret Booth.
Yes, she basically says that Margaret Booth almost got away with this, that she was very close to getting away with
Like
this
a
murder
Scooby-Doo
and
villain.
this massacre. Yeah, she was so close, Greg. And then we go back to 1989 on Halloween, right before the festival's about to pop off, and we find out that all the ghosts basically surrounded her Roanoke style out in the cabin.
Pitchforks.
And and had the fire, and were basically like, come on out, like, you're dead.
She checked her gun. She only had like a few bullets, so like, you're done. That's
what's a
over.
gun gonna do against a bunch of ghosts, Margaret? Like, come on. Like, what are you gonna do? The fun part about this is that not only do Donna and Brooke both show up. Remember, they were on their way to Redwood, so they show up.
They
and
get their licks in as well.
They get their shots at her.
But at the same time, Brooke, she's shot. She's left on the ground. Everyone thinks she's dead. This time they'll take Margaret, hang her up. Let's bring her out. Let's do this.
No, we can talk about this. Just tell me what you want.
Your head on a stick.
Now, they showed a wood chipper very early on in a scene with Bobby just walking through the campgrounds. And immediately you should go, oh, someone's going to get it. I immediately thought it's Margaret.
Yeah,
It's
someone's
going to
get it that way, yeah.
I don't know what the hell's going on. They grab her arms, chop them off, roll them.
Yeah.
It was
a
great.
lot of good kills in this episode. This was gruesome as well, just like the Ramirez death. But chopping off every limb and then throwing it into the wood chipper and then having it shoot
overkill.
out. See, these are where the rules, the ghosts, they don't really understand the logic of death and all that kind of stuff.
She killed all of them, though. She had a hand in every single one of them being there at the party.
She does deserve a horrible death, I agree with you. But let her bleed out off of the property so she doesn't come back. Let her, don't kill her. As soon as you chop her head off, she's now dead. Like, I don't know about the
30-second rule.
The 30-second rule, that's like some BS, I think. They should have basically chopped off all her limbs, Greg. I love how we're breaking down how they should have killed her.
She could have, but then she just could have died of heart failure or something if they kept chopping off limbs and blood loss.
Yeah, but then, so cut the arms off, cut the legs off, and then just push her body down the hill.
Actually, that would have been cool. They just had a puppet for just her, just the limbs, to just throw her. Oh, that would have been awesome.
Bottom line is, Greg, that Margaret got it pretty bad. Like, she deserved this, right? She deserved to get murdered in the most gruesome way, and they all get their vengeance on her.
I love at the end when they throw her head in and there's some like back splatter or something from
Yeah,
the blood.
and everyone,
and everyone's like, what the fuck?
Everyone gets a little bit on their face, yeah. It was definitely some Fargo meets Friday the 13th vibes.
I feel like there's something else there too. I know there's something else where
There's
someone
gotta be.
got it.
Let us know
with
if
a chipper.
it reminded you of any other movies, guys.
We go back to 2019 with Donna and Bobby, where they still have to figure out who's giving him money, who's paying for all.
I wonder who it could be.
Let me think about this for a second. Oh, yeah, it's Brooke.
Surprise, bitch. I bet you thought you'd seen the last of me.
Yes, and now we find out that there's more than one final girl.
Yes,
that
in
Donna,
Oregon.
Donna was the final girl, and so was Brooke, but Donna had no idea that Brooke survived it. Everyone thought that she died that night at Camp Redwood. They had never seen her again since then, but she kind of created her own little life over there, right?
Family. I know everyone paused the screen. They're looking at those photos of her family, trying to see if anyone's there. It was Evan Peters and nothing. It's all good.
Yeah, she has a couple kids. She has a husband, and I love how they explain the lack of aging. Basically, her husband's a dermatologist. And that's why she doesn't look a day older. Okay, it works. By the way, Donna also barely aged in these shots.
They gave her just those streaks.
Yeah.
Let's put a little bit of makeup here, get you those wrinkles. Bam, got it.
All good. We're sold. You don't have to trick us.
Now let's explain how she died here, because this does have a redemption story. It has a redemption story for another character.
Yes.
Ray.
Yeah.
He has a nice redemption story.
He does not want her to die on the property and have to live there forever. So he does everything he can to, uses the iodine and helps her out with her wound, her gunshot to the stomach.
Back to the first few episodes.
Yep, and brings her basically to the edge of the property.
Now she drops to the ground there, and Ray screams. I have a feeling that maybe he's the one who thought, oh, she's dead. She didn't make it. He tells everyone else there at the campground the same thing, so they all think she's gone. But at the same time, she
tying
says,
up a loose end.
Tying up a loose end there, but she says someone called, possibly from the campground. It had to be Ray, right?
Yeah, she said someone called and the paramedics found her, and basically she woke up in a white room, like in a hospital, like just recovering. But my question is, I guess maybe there's a phone somewhere on the campground that was still in service, right? Because 1989, they were planning the festival, so Margaret's phone, track it down, call the paramedics.
Fine. Totally fine.
Like,
right in there.
I'm sure they showed up like 2 minutes later, and her life was saved.
Now, after all of this, everything that Bobby's heard and he has seen with his own eyes,
and been stabbed with,
he wants to go back to Camp Redwood to see his dad.
Bobby.
He's got to see his daddy. And finally, Bobby returns, where he gets his reunion with his father, but not before Margaret comes back. She's been hiding. We know the rules in AHS, how this works for ghosts. You can hide yourself from anyone else there at the campground or any haunted hellscape land you're on. And so Margaret did that for 30 years.
She was waiting a long damn time just for Bobby to come back and reappear. And she immediately wants to kill him for unknown reasons why he's the one target.
Well, I think
Ramirez
Margaret,
I get, but I don't know why Margaret would just eye him.
I thought that Margaret just hit out because she saw what they were doing to Ramirez. She's like, oh, they're gonna do the same thing to me if they find out I'm alive in the campground. So no, she just hit out.
Right. I like the reunion between Benjamin and Bobby to have that moment, and then it even gets better once Margaret is basically about to kill Bobby, and then Lavinia Richter, obviously his grandmother, Bobby's grandmother, steps in and basically puts a hex on that. Basically, she's like the strongest, because of the blood curse and how it worked on the land, I guess, that she has basically the strongest ability and power and control over the campground itself. So she just puts an end to Margaret's plan to murder Bobby.
Please, there is no such thing.
It was a really touching reunion between them.
I thought that was sweet. I thought it was beautiful. I really, really loved the ending.
Yeah, it was a perfect ending. Happier than I guess some might have expected for this season.
Didn't see it coming.
Yeah, to see Bobby kind of get that closure on his life and find out about his father. Then he sees obviously his dad and his uncle and his grandmother on the campground, and he's probably like, "Whoa, what the hell just happened? This last 24 hours has been pretty crazy. My family are ghosts, and they, and I learned about their story, but also it was just like a pretty fitting ending to how Montana kind of sends him off. That like the 80s will never die, and they're gonna be there, and just basically the way that we live on is by telling our story and like letting people know about this area and the supernatural powers at bay here.
They kept this story closed in a box, and I'm happy. Towards the end, I was worried. Oh, don't say anything about aliens. Don't say anything about like Briarcliff anymore. Oh, don't do Murder House. Don't say anything like about the Montgomerys. Just please leave it out. Leave it out. And they did. They closed it off with a great ending, and it's just weird to see this ending where Mr. Jingles killing everyone for the first like 5 episodes.
Yeah.
And then it ends with his son looking back at him. And this time the killer's not. It's not a dream. You're not waking up from a dream or anything like that. And the killer's not dragging you down to the depths of hell. He literally just looks back, sees his family, and then turns back, and that's it. It's over.
All right, as with every season finale, this one left us with a handful of questions, right?
Of course.
Yeah, they have to. My biggest one is, how the hell does Richard Ramirez get to Hotel Cortez? From what we know from that season, he died in prison, right? And then his spirit went into the hotel, or he visits on Devil's Night.
Yeah.
I guess the only explanation would be that, hey, on certain nights, kind of like the rules with the murder house, on Halloween night, can certain spirits leave the campground as well and make it to other places in the AHS universe?
Use your imagination here on this one, and I will say yes, because that's all you can think of right now. Other than that, he broke out for one night, made his way down to Hotel Cortez.
There's no other explanation
and somehow
of it, right?
the ghost dragged him back, maybe on Halloween. Well, that's it. That's all you can go with here, because there's no answer to that.
We'll go with that, because that makes the most sense, I think. Speaking of Richard Ramirez, Satan resurrected his ass like so many times this season.
Yeah.
My question to you is, why didn't he do the same with Michael Langdon in Apocalypse?
He has favorites, apparently, and Michael was just a bad apple. He didn't like him. I have a feeling that's all it was. I mean, he did it again. He started the apocalypse over again at the end of that season.
That's a good point. Maybe he didn't even need to resurrect Michael, because he knew Michael was a little brat, and then he just said, okay, I'll just put it in another baby.
Yeah, and keep it going that way, even though, because Richard Ramirez is not the Antichrist. Different here. It just, you gotta pick and choose here. Now, speaking of Satan, do you believe Brooke when she said, oh, it was just the EMT, she managed to get back to the hospital, and she's fine? Lies. Lies. I think the devil brought her back. I think she made a deal with Satan.
This is an excellent theory. This is a fun one. It's very dark.
Yep.
I like where you're going with this, that basically her whole story of how she survived is a lie, and that Satan himself actually brought her back and moved from Ramirez to her, maybe, or just helped control her and bring her back, and now she basically made a deal with the devil.
She had to make a deal with the devil. We don't know what that deal was. It took 30 years since she left, so who knows what she had to do to get that family.
And she's been kind of started her own life and kind of kept herself. And
Kaja Gugu made a deal with the devil. So hey, it happens. I feel like she made a deal with the devil. She was revived, and that's that. And she left it there. I would love to know if there's an alternate ending where she just it's just that scene where she just wakes up from the dead and she's risen and then walks off the campground. That's it.
I like it. And finally, do we think anyone returns to Camp Redwood? Does Bobby get another itch to go back and see his family?
That's the same question for other seasons too. I mean, you have, do we return to Murder House? Do we return to Hotel Cortez? Now we have Camp Redwood in there as well. Even, I guess, Roanoke land too. Can you say for Roanoke?
Yep.
But yeah, anything like that. Do we return? Maybe, some season. I love this season for how, again, contained it was for its own thing. But they could come back to another season and just bring up Camp Redwood somehow, some way.
I'd like to see a larger connected explanation on all these spots on the land, on the American landscape, that have this supernatural attachment to them. It'd be really cool to kind of see the broader picture of all of that and how it works.
And I think we will. I have a feeling they're going to come back around to this in season 10. Not Camp Redwood, but just the haunted land situation itself. I feel like they're going to come back around to that and give an explanation for it. And if this happens to be the final season, they'll do it.
Now, AHS 1984 might have come to an end, but remember, the 80s live on forever, and we're not going to stop talking about AHS. We're actually going to continue to do more of these breakdowns. We're going to go back to past seasons, but before we do that, I think we've got to do one overall review of 1984.
Of course.
And?
Yes, and then after that, let's do our predictions for season 10.
Yes, we have to. It's never too soon to talk about season 10, right? And what might possibly happen, what kind of themes we might see, and who might be the final girl for the next season. I know one thing.
No one.
I'm the final boy on this breakdown.
Get that out of here. Is that a
I'm gonna
cake knife?
Yeah, we're gonna have cake. We're gonna have cake. Thank you guys for watching.
HR.